Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday. We're back again with another Fanatics Weekly Review where I go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned this week. Actually, it's going to be a little different. It's two top 50s because they had a RIP night auction, apparently that they have once a year. So a little different, but ultimately still 100 soccer cards. So let's go ahead and get rolling. We're starting at $630 for the weekly, and then we'll get into Topps Rip Night as well. That was a lot more modern, but a little bit of vintage, and nearly the same prices for the most part. So first row here, nothing really crazy. A couple facsimile Messis and PSA 10 from early middle career-ish. Along with that, you have this Iniesta Pop 2 PSA 10 that went for $660. It seemed like a super strong price. One thing that led me to believe that is so is when you go further in the auction block, there was like a Xavi PSA 10 green that did like $80. So I'd have to imagine the Pop 1 and 2 is pulling a lot here, and maybe even the facsimile auto. I'm guessing most people are aware this isn't a real auto, but because it has auto on the card, it kind of looks like an auto. Maybe some people that are relatively new get caught up in something like that and don't necessarily know. I don't know. It just seemed ridiculously high, at least from my point of view. Above it, we have a Topps Jade Messi out of 5 going for $750 and a PSA 8 from 2021. This has sold a few times, and this was a pretty good price. Last sale was Murozan for $316, PSA 9. Of course, with that, you do have to factor in, or at least you could factor in if you wanted to, that there's probably import fees. So if you were in America buying this, you're probably paying a decent percentage more than $316, but still, it does double the price of this PSA 9, which is pretty good. And back in the day, could have had this for $200 raw, and even a PSA 9 actually had sold on Fanatics recently for $400. So that's looking like a really good pickup. I sort of mentioned, I've bought a couple reds lately, but I've been talking about how I feel like they have quite a place in modern, and seemingly even the Topps Red Jade out of 5 and a PSA 8 does pretty well here. I don't know how far that stuff runs because at some point, things do run too much and you start to wonder, have we gone too far? And that's always a good question to ask. So I'm not saying that necessarily is going to continue and it's just going to keep multiplying, but, all to say that, seemingly at the place we're in, it's doing pretty good. This Flash PSA 10 Ronaldo went for $750. This was an interesting one. It says Pop 1 of 5, and I looked it up. You can't find a sale on it at all. So highest sale ever was a PSA 9 in 2021 for $616, but it pretty quickly came down. There's an 8.5 here that went for $203, and then highest sales, at least recently, I think this was the last sale of a Flash. It did $60 in a PSA 9, so very big premium placed on that. PSA 10, probably rightfully deserved because it seems very hard to get in the 10. I've never seen a sale of it, but at the same time, a massive premium over the 9, which is interesting. Granted, that was a different point in time. Ronaldo's run a lot. There's a lot of factors there. Pretty high grade again, or not high grade, but a high price on a low grade Messi. 2004 Campio goes for nearly $800. Above in this grade bunch of vintage, although some masquerading is vintage, which of course isn't. The Donruss Kaboom Maradona smack dab in between a couple Di Stefanos. The Tornero on the far right, or the Torneo. This is PSA 6, and it essentially comes from like a hand cut panel, I guess. It's got like him and some action shots and stuff like that. It's a lot harder than the PSA 8 on the left that you'll see in terms of item rarity, although it is hand cut. And I think there was some talk in the vintage Discord, as always, linked down below. Great place to chat cards, mostly vintage, but they got pre-modern and modern stuff as well, and different chats for everything. So do check it out. I think there's like a extra step to get in there now because there's scammers out and about, which was inevitable really, but you might have to go through an extra step, but certainly worth it, I would say. But anyways, people were talking about it in there. I think I saw mention that this might have been the same PSA 1.5, but essentially cut again. As you can see here, this trim is not good. It's hand cut, so they're all trimmed. But it really drags off on the bottom right. The top right kind of cuts inward, so there's definitely improvement to be made there. I don't think it's necessarily wrong for someone to improve it, but I also don't think it's wrong then for someone else to say, well, that's just the 1.5 sale in a higher grade now, and so sure, in theory you'd pay more, but at the same time, it just went for $250 back here, and now in a 6 goes for $780. With the grade adjusted and everything, it doesn't seem crazy, but when you consider that, it doesn't seem bad. I think it does speak to some value on low-grade hand-cut items if they have room to be cut more. Not that you necessarily have to cut it yourself or anything like that, but just that the potential is there if someone does wish to do it. Anyway, all to say that price seemed fair, and the PSA 8 of the Bruguera next to it on the far left did $810 as well, which was a little higher than the last copy sold. I had bought the last one, and ultimately this isn't that crazy either. Pretty impressive to see it do the same price as a much rarer release from the same year, right next to it in the same row. These are more of a typical release, though, and they've been pretty highly coveted for a long time, at least to some degree. There was a run where a lot of them came out, but seemingly that sort of stopped, but you never quite know where that's going to go in the future, so we'll find out. Above it, a lot of modern here, a lot of 2020 stuff. Take your pick. Jude Prism. Well, it says Prism, but Jude Topps Chrome Stadium Club. This is out of 25 auto, 8.5 grade for the card. We have a Van Dyke PSA 10 select field level, black, and we also have a CGC 9 Lamine Yamal. You know, I could see people picking anything in this row. It's quite the selection, so I'm not going to do it myself. I will say I just find it so impressive, the prices that like base mega cracks are doing for Lamine Yamal still. We'll see a lot of cards in this auction. Some that seem semi-notable, granted he has so many cards, but some that seem fairly nice, and they don't go for crazy numbers at this point. But there are other ones that are really nice that do crazy numbers, and we'll see one of those later. So, you know, it's all over the place with Lamine Yamal. Right above it, out of 99 team set auto. So, I mean, that's kind of an example, I guess. You can get a Mega Cracks base card, or you can get an auto. Now, it is team set. It's, you know, I think it's pink, so I get it, but still, 930 on that one. One of one Topps, Cristiano Ronaldo, Mike James. I'm guessing that's the artist here. I mean, I don't know if you're into artist sketches. I mean, a one of one out of Topps for $1,000 in a world where basically any one of one Topps is ridiculous money. I don't think it's a wild stretch, but it depends how much you're into that stuff. Next to it, Kylian Mbappe, PSA 10 gold bubbles from his third year Chrome at this point. That goes for $1,020. Above that, PSA 10 Cup Captains Ronaldo goes for $1,110, along with a couple Messis here. You can get the Monday Chromo 2008 in a 10 or a rookie in an 8.5. Generally, it feels like rookie's the way to go, but, you know, PSA 10, registry chase, and that type of stuff, that certainly exists. So PSA 10 Monday Chromo gets a decent price there, pop one of 10. Above it, I threw a watch on this. I don't think I actually was watching this. I might have just done it because I was interested in it in post. But $1,680 there on that Ronaldinho. Actually a pretty good price. Last one was best offered for $1,400. And generally, I always say best offers do higher prices than normal auction sales because that's sort of how that works. You only need one buyer as opposed to two to pay that price. But the last one before that was $1,100, and this one goes for nearly $1,700, I think it was. So, I mean, it's up quite a bit, up nearly $1,000 over the sale from October a couple of years ago. So, doing really good in regard to that Ronaldinho. This was a card I was sort of referencing with that Mega Cracks. I know it's a good bit money more, but, you know, an orange The Man PSA 10. If you like The Man, I don't know. Topps case hits and that type of stuff doesn't quite hit the same, or at least at this point in time, it doesn't. But that goes for $1,700 and a pop 1 of 11. Pretty good gem right there. Next to it, Mosaic Auto for Cristiano from 2020. Then we have a Miazza 1934 Lotario Vecchi. Not quite sure. I did have this in my big list of, you know, Miazzas that I sort of outlined. I could barely ever find much on this, and I don't think there are really any comps. So a pretty strong price here. Seems fair in that regard when you can't find too many of them. Ultimately, pretty good price. I mean, you know, like Miazza rookie stuff is, I mean, like the good rookies, you know, the Larati, the thing people like. Those are like $20K. So this is about a tenth of a rookie. And I don't know where the rookies are. Maybe they're not $20K anymore. They might be. At least in my head, that's sort of where I had them pinned. So a tenth of the price of a, you know, pretty famous rookie. I think that's respectable, at least it seems to me. Out of 30 PSA 10, National Pride Messi goes for $1,800, along with the Renaissance Lamine Yamal from Topps Merlin. This row, again, take your pick. You know, I do bag on post-playing days, and I probably will do the same again here, but at the same time, you know, when you see a one of one next to a couple seemingly more mass-produced modern goats, you know, you do wonder, I guess. But at the same time, I mean, it is Messi, it is Ronaldo. Personally, I do like the NT Messi, but I think in 21-22 he's on PSG at that point, so that's basically a throwback, but it's so close to where, like, you know. But I don't know. NT sort of stands out to me just because it's Messi, it's NT, but it's also Chronicles, so, you know, I don't know. But interesting to see that, and also interesting to see the Superfractor Iniesta and where that went. I thought this row was really fun. You got a Gold Power Samuel Eto'o from 2014 Prism. This goes for $2,300. I tried to look up comps. The only two sales were both in 2014, and it was like $50 and $80. So if you bought those, you're doing pretty good. You know, $2,300 here. A nice ROI, I would say. Messi PSA 9 from the 2004 team set, the white number 89. This goes for $2,500, which is, about where they're at. Obviously, they've come down a little bit from the boom days, at least of yesteryear or last year, but still doing pretty good. $2,500 there. That used to be probably $1,000 card pretty consistently, so it's still up quite a bit. Gold Cristiano Ronaldo, speaking of cards up quite a bit, this one goes for $2,760, and in terms of pass sales, last one was in September. Well, oh, okay, never mind. It's not up that much, actually. Well, I mean, it's still up 2,300 here in September. I keep forgetting that these sales aren't showing in Card Ladder yet, but the last sale before that was August of 2024. That went for $600. So, a nice $2,000 plus profit on that wouldn't be all too shabby now, would it? Pop 1 of 12, so not even all that hard to get. Granted, none of the chromes really are that hard of a grade, at least from what I can tell. In this row, a couple kabooms. Pulisic, Ronaldo, take your pick. I don't know. Who's a better player? Who means more to the country? I mean, it's just jokes. But the Ronaldo goes for $2,800. It is, of course, a later year. It's also raw, so there's some things that could cut against it if you want. But $2,800 there is still doing good. Kabooms in general are doing pretty nice. 2004 PSA 8.5 of the Campy O. This goes for $3K. Again, I think this is a good example of the number 35 showing its dominance in the team set space. PSA 9 Campio going for $500 less kind of is all you need there. Then with the PSA 10 Christian Pulisic, I hate talking about U.S. guys in these auction blocks because, personally, it is a part of what I collect. It's a big part of my fandom for soccer. It's where that sort of originated. But in terms of soccer cards and what the space is maybe going to be in the future, I don't have too much of a vested interest in terms of it needs to be U.S. based. I don't, I've accepted people in the U.S. just don't care about soccer. If they get into cards, that's cool. They might like Christian Pulisic, whatever. Ultimately, I think there is a lot riding on the World Cup in the sense that if he does something great, it's going to be great for his cards. If he does something horrendous, it's going to be horrendous for his cards. But ultimately, personally, I think Pulisic is probably the best U.S. player ever. I mean, in terms of club career, I think it's a certainty. And so you can argue, he hasn't proved it yet for the national team, and that's fine. But to me, I think he's the best player we've ever had. So I'm happy to collect him no matter how the 2026 World Cup goes. I do also understand that's not the case for a lot of people. And so for a really hyped card that cross-sport collectors would be getting into, of a player that really could be hyped, if not is hyped now, I don't know. I mean, we're already like year 10 of his career, so how much of a prospect is he at this point? I'm not sure. But at the same time, something like this, I would be a little nervy. Granted, I've never bought a Kaboom Pulisic. I'm clearly not a Kaboom guy. I mean, I respect game. I understand it, but it's not my thing. And at 3,100, I could certainly see people saying that's a little strong. In terms of past comps, I mean, it is strong. Just wanted to show it because it's Kaboom, it's Pulisic, and, I got nothing here. So 680 in 2023 at one point and currently about 3K. Pulisic's market has come back a little bit, decent bit, I would say, generally, but Kaboom certainly also helping that as well. Then in this row, not a whole lot to say in the first two. A Chalmany, 1 of 1 Nebula from 2022, along with a Landon Donovan. Golly, I don't know. Sorry, US-centric. I'm biased. Along with the David Beckham 1 of 1 Black Box out of NT 2022, but it was released in 2025. Ultimately, I've said my feelings on Black Box. That feels pretty respectable, I would say. And the Chalmany, there's a lot of 1-of-1s of 2022 Prism. I just want to throw that out there. I think they have 4 now, so it's like, they've lost a little luster in my eyes, but at the same time, I can understand why people still would really desire them, and he plays for a very collected club. Pele PSA 8 of the record going for $3,250. That's a pretty strong price. Generally, we've seen the 9s trade anywhere from 4 to 8K for the most part, so an 8 almost breaking into that echelon is pretty good, especially for just Pele and especially with really thin borders. Again, what I mentioned earlier, thicker borders, there's chances to regrade and cut it and do whatever you please. So this one has really thin ones, which means, the opportunity really isn't there, and this is probably the best you're getting. So good price there, I would say. This row, very interesting. I'd probably take the Ronaldo just because, it's prime peak playing days Ronaldo at Real Madrid. It's an auto, but it is a fun row. 2016 Ronaldo, black, gold. This is out of 2016 Panini. decent price here. Pop one of one none higher, but you would have to imagine there's probably some at PSA as well. Granted, it's also sort of a thicker card in a black set, so actually getting that high of a grade is probably very hard to do. 2022 stained glass Ronaldo PSA 10 for 3,600, pop one of 14, and then a 2023 Topps Chrome Neon Green out of 99 PSA 10 Messi with a little shaky of an auto in terms of streakiness, but ultimately still gets a pretty good price. Again, fun row. I could see people going any which way. Personally, I'd go 2016 just because it's more aligned with what I generally do, but row of Messi above it, so a little easier to take a pick here in terms of player. We have a PSA 9, number 62, Campio. This goes for $37.20, along with a Monday Chromo PSA 9. Sort of struggled to say that there, but number 617 goes for $4,500. Interesting to note the watchers between these two. I thought the prices being relatively similar is fair and sort of what you generally see, but the watchers I thought was interesting, 88 to 46. Very big difference, and personally, despite being, I'm pretty sure it's a bit higher pop, the Monday Chromo rather than the team sets in particular. The Monday Chromo being a league release has always been a preference of mine in comparison to the team set, but I can certainly see arguments either way because the images in the team set look good as well. So, and then for the modern choice, you also have the PSA 10 out of 150 Blue Chrome from 2017, first year Chrome. If you didn't know, 5,300 there, down a little bit from the last sale, but ultimately still up from the sales before that in January and August of 4,500 and 4,100, and this was on an auction as well. Ultimately, it was closer to 1 to 2K card, 1.5 to 2K for a few years there, and has had quite the run as of late, and seemingly sort of staying up there. It came down a little bit, but when you're going up, 200%, coming down a little bit is all but fair. And then the top 6 here, this will be one that I kind of go through quick because we'll see a PSA 10 Kaboom Kylian Mbappe right after this, so not a whole lot to say here. Just interesting to note that the 9 goes for 6K. We have a 2019 Chrome Auto Erling Haaland. You barely ever see these. You see like the numbered versions and stuff, but to see just a refractor auto, not too commonly seen. 6,300 here. The eye appeal on modern cards, I will say I don't like at all, but that's me. Then we have a Stadium Club Glimpses of Gold Lamine Yamal out of 5 goes for 8,100. Top 3, this was, the first two, I guess, aren't all too surprising, but Platini getting into the top 3, I think, was PSA 8 on this 1974 French release, goes for 8,100. Looked at it, it looks good to me. It was graded recently, so, you always wondered, because this is a sticker that pretty infamously, along with some others within vintage, has had sporadic grading, I guess, to say the least. But this one looked pretty good to me. I looked at the back, didn't see a whole lot wrong with it, but maybe I didn't take as deep of a search as you could have. Interestingly, only 42 watchers. Would have thought that would have had more for such a high grade release. I guess we can go in and take a short peek at it here. Pretty well centered. Colors look good. Not much blur. Corners look generally good. Bottom right, a little maybe, but generally not too bad. And then the back, the text, little crackly, but I would say nothing here is a standout in terms of just egregious removal. But with these, you always have to take peeks, like a little something there, maybe a little something there. But that type of stuff is, a bit monotonous, and you can kind of drive yourself crazy doing that if you want to. But 8,100 in terms of sale price, actually very, very strong. Last it was 3,000, so there is a part of me that says, that's a bit much, a bit quick maybe. Especially on Platini, he hasn't had much run, but this would be the card to run if there was one. This one is pretty clearly OC, so I guess if you want to talk that one down, you could. There was a sale before it for 4K and a better centered copy. And there's been sales as high as, like 12,000, 14,000 at times. So this isn't an all-time high sale, but it certainly is a lot stronger than some of the sales we were seeing last year. So very, very strong sale there at 8,100. And then finally, 2 Kylian Mbappe's. Take your pick between the two. I guess one of them you also would get $6,000 cash as well. I think I'd take the copper field level in the $6,000. But between the two of them, clearly, to me, one is a rookie, one is not. They're both labeled as rookie. You can see a year difference. They're both cards. So one of them isn't a rookie. Clearly. And it's egregious. I don't know why. I know that Fanatics has said in the past that basically the way their listing titles are, they don't really change them. It just sort of is what it is. And, once they put them in, that's what they are. I'm sure they could change them if they wanted. They probably just don't care to. But In no other sport are they doing this. If you go to football, if you go to baseball, if you go to basketball, no other sport are they saying, oh, this third-year card is actually a first-year card, or second-year card is actually a first-year. No one's doing that. No one. Go to any sport, no one's doing it. I don't know why the soccer community lets people do this. And maybe it's because, we're a bit more ambiguous. It's not as well-defined. We're a newer space. And some of the rookies early on, like, you go into vintage and what's Pele's rookie? There's these ethereal questions that exist. But in modern, it's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry. I don't see anyone saying, oh, this 2020 Stadium Club Chrome is actually Haaland's rookie, because it isn't. I think Mbappe is just clouded by so many flippers and so many people that got into a hobby during a time where misinformation was as broad as any. I mean, it was everywhere because no one really knew. They were just all taking get. And so many people have that instilled in them and they think that that's the case. It's not. And so, yeah, I don't know why I'm going crazy over it right now, but I guess it's just because this is a pretty clear-cut example. And top 5% IPL in the select copper. I mean, for whatever you care, I don't know. It's a PSA 10. I think that's what matters. But maybe that's why I got this premium. It actually sold for a lot. Last sale was 2 years ago. Well, I guess 3 years ago, but like 2.5. And this copper went for $3,400. And this one goes for $8,700. Which is a big-time move. Granted, Mbappe's moved. He's up a good bit, but this is probably up more than a general Mbappe index would be, and maybe the 5% IPL is doing it here. One thing I did want to draw attention to, at least, as a select enjoyer, I like select. I don't have any Mbappe select, so I'm not, pushing my narrative here to start getting it going. But I just think, personally, I like the 2017 select field level a good bit more than the Chrome. And that's probably crazy and people probably go nuts over that. Maybe, I don't know. But to me, when you add up all the select field level parallels, I think it's like 250, maybe a little more, maybe 300, but like 250 to 300, right? And you look at Chrome, I mean, there's 250 in the purple alone. And then you got blue, green, gold, orange, red. I mean, there's not a ton of parallels, but there's still a lot more. The select's much rarer to get in a parallel. And I also like the field levels. I think they're fun. And if you can get them at a discount too, I mean, I think I looked at prices and this is somewhere between the price of a PSA 10 blue or purple Mbappe Chrome. So, between out of 150 and between out of 200 for this out of 49. And it is copper, which probably isn't as enjoyed, but still. And then up top, I guess we can talk about the elephant in the room here, this Kaboom PSA 10 that tops this auction block. Goes for a new high. Actually, no, it doesn't. This one came back down. That was 16.6. This is 14.4, so it's actually down just a smidge back below these two recent comps. Still up quite a bit. Noticeably, this also didn't decrease as much as you would have thought. I mean, Mbappe stuff from 2021 to 2024 probably went down 50% or more on almost everything. Probably more. And this one only went down like 30%, which I found to be, semi-interesting at least. And then on to the other half of the auction block. This should be a little quicker. There's not as much to comp, but there are some big prices. So it's the Topps Rip Night. This ended on Saturday, which I am pretty salty about because there were a few cards in here I might have bid on, but sadly, could not. So let's go. We start this auction at $450, so still pretty respectable for an entire separate auction. Don't know who this select gold is. I'm sorry. I'm not the prospector you took me for, but if if it's worth learning, let me know. Orange Merlin out of 25, early Haaland for nearly 500. Seemed like a pretty good price for an orange. Not rookie, huh? Not rookie in that title. That's weird. Why isn't that a rookie, huh? Anyways. Roberto Baggio, PSA 7, that's a rookie. This goes for $500. In terms of comps, I did look it up. This one went for about the same as they've been going for lately. What I will say generally is I feel like maybe not this one in particular, but the others, and maybe even this one as well, could have done better in the Sunday auction because a lot of the vintage guys and pre-war guys and a lot of the people that focus on that space are dedicated every Sunday to going through the weekly, not hopping on a Saturday night randomly to pick up a Baggio, but still a good price for a somewhat random auction. So I thought that was impressive. Little less impressive on the Charlton, but I guess we'll get there. We can just get there now. I mean, look at the other autos, take them in. The Leaf, Cristiano Ronaldo, or a Topps Dynasty Figo, take your pick. There's going to be a lot of Dynasty. So that's just, we can't really compare that to other sales because it's all new. So you kind of got to compare it to each other. And think what you think there. But PSA 7, Bobby Charlton, this was actually pretty low. There's been a couple bins lately, and granted, bins go higher, but those went for $750 and $900. I think this could have got more. I think it probably would have landed $700, $800, maybe more. I don't know, but $576 here seemed like a pretty good deal. It is really OC. I mean, the right side, it's almost peeking over to the very edge of the border, so I get that as well. But still think that could have done better. A couple dynasties above it, Dybala here along with an Iniesta. We have a Lamine Yamal rookie as well. Again, it is Topps year of the Dragon Barcelona, so it's very niche, but selling for less than, Mega Cracks rookies in a CGC 9, just something. Above that, a 1/1 Futera. I thought this was actually kind of cool. It's got a Messi Barca patch. I read more into it. It was from a 2017 game against Juve, and it was from his shorts. But it's got a Barca badge on there, and man, a 1/1 Barca badge for $750. I know it's Futera. Everyone hates Futera, but doesn't seem bad. I'd take it over out of 5 Topps Dynasty Gavi, but each person is different. Gary Lineker 1/1 here as well. And above that, a couple more autos. Pele auto here from 2021 Beautiful Game. Estival out of 5. I thought this was kind of cool. Granted, Obsidian's not people's favorite, but a green color match. Decent grade for Obsidian. Not bad. We got a Rivaldo 2024 as well. Don't know what that brand is. I know it's a pretty iconic brand, but out of 5 there goes for $810. Kylian Mbappe, this is an interesting one. We'll see a card above it. I'm just going to, go crazy again like always, but we'll wait. Zlatan out of 10 Topps Dynasty goes for $870, along with a Vinny Neymar duel for $990. The Color Blast is going to send me over the edge is this Thierry Henry from 2024 that goes for more than the Mbappe from a World Cup year where he had a really good World Cup. I know there's tons of Arsenal fans, a lot of Gooners, but come on. Just seems crazy to me, but I know they're a fanatical bunch, so, I can certainly understand. I would imagine the Panini Premier League Prism is probably shorter print Color Blast than the Obsidian, if I had to guess, but who knows. Putellas here, this goes for $1,080. I played some FIFA this year, so she's been in my team at times. Fun player. That's all I got. I don't know a lot about the sport. I know she's a really good player. I'm pretty sure she's won Ballon d'Ors, or I think that's what they call it. I don't know. Would I like to be better? Sure. I'd like to know more, but ultimately I'm just so caught up in learning so much about cards and vintage soccer, and I'm already drawn so many different places, but great player from the women's game as far as I understand. Obviously great set, and so to have that is a cool addition to the hobby. $1,080 there is pretty respectable, it seems, at least to me. Out of 49, Estival goes for $1,100 there. You can sort of call back the Mbappe copper in a PSA 10. I mean, about the same pop. I think, they're both out of 49, so same numbering. But Estival, obviously not the player of Mbappe, also has not a lot more rookie options, maybe a little more, but he was relatively tame for a 2023 release. But, just something to think about. This year I thought was interesting in terms of autos you want. You can get the facsimile Messi in a 7, a Lamine Yamal Topps base, or you can get a KDB Topps Dynasty. For me, I think just on principles, the KDB seems pretty cool. Obviously not the player that Messi is. Is he the player that Lamine is? Probably maybe not. I don't know. 1,100 there, though. I'd go KDB, but fun row. Above it, PSA 6 record goes for $1,400. Again, seems fairly respectable. Those have come down a lot, especially. I remember PSA 3 selling for $2 or $3 grand back during the boom. So if you want a fun Pele, it's got their name switch. It's a cutout from a magazine, but it was meant to be cut out. There's, you can play it a lot of different ways, but I think it's a fun piece if you're looking to get early Pele in a high grade and at least a semi-fun set. Topps Merlin, Lionel Messi red goes for $1,400. SGC 10. Ultimately, I think it matters what you think of the SGC 10. Do you care for it? Do you not? I don't know. Everyone's different. $1,400 there. This was a card that probably was like a $300 to $400 card, and with the growth of Messi along, with all the different verticals of Messi, what's sort of growing with it, I think the Reds have sort of, stayed the course in that regard. And even in Merlin, they've done pretty good. This one being at $1,500 seems like a good price. If you like it really a lot as a 10, I could see how you might think this is a deal. But ultimately, it is PSG kit. It is pretty late career. It is Merlin, so there's some detractors as well, SGC, all that stuff. Kaká out of 5 auto goes for $1,470. We also have a Bruno Fernandes out of 5, or Bruno Fernandes. This was actually a player I said the other week that not many midfielders get loved during their career until almost the very end. I do think this might be one of the ones that sort of bucks that. He's actually pretty well collected, granted Portuguese roots, Manchester United, a lot of fans there to be had. So I think that helps, but I do want to just throw out there that was actually one person that came to mind that went against my narrative, but just throwing it out there. So next to it, Ronaldinho red. Not sure how much this is out of. Doesn't have a number on it, but that goes for 1,500. Seems pretty good. Lewandowski tops Dynasty first year out of 5, 1,500. That doesn't seem bad to me, if you're a Lewandowski guy. Now, granted, as always, I complain about the blue auto on a blue kit. I don't like that, but the patch is really nice. I mean, it's a nice looking card. I mean, if you're into it, I could see that being a fun one. Above it, out of 5, Luka Modric here. Like that a little bit more on a white kit. That goes for 1,590, along with the Karl-Heinz Rummenigge out of 1 from 2024 Dynasty for 1,590. And then finally in this run, out of 14, Cristiano Ronaldo Chronicles, numbered to 14, which I think I already said, but PSA 8 goes for 1,900 there. This row, Aguero and Haaland, that's an interesting one. I've always really liked collecting some Aguero here and there. I feel like he's a player that basically gets no talk because he sort of retired at a time where the hobby wasn't really booming around him. But to see the duel of the two is really fun, and I've always liked Aguero's auto. It's very intricate. That goes for 1,890 out of Topps Deco. Immaculate 2024 Sapphire Messi goes for $2,000 as well. And then we have what I thought might have won a little low, but again, depends. I mean, it's very OC, and it's not the most beloved 78 Maradona. I think it's the least beloved. This is the crack caricature. There's a crack headshot. There's the Estampas as well. And ultimately, I think this is third in line. Personally, I like it a lot. I think it's a fun one. Caricatures are kind of divisive. Some people love them. Some people hate them. In modern, people like the Kabooms. They like the mangas. And so from that perspective, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. PSA 5 on this is pretty good. I think, if memory serves me right, this is the harder crack to get high grades on. It also could be because there aren't as many submitted, and maybe that's the factor there. But yeah, $3,000 here I thought was pretty cheap, or at least relatively doable. I think PSA 1s of the crack headshot at this point go for like 500 to 1,000. So a PSA 5 of the caricature for 3,000. Comparatively seems like a deal, but depends on what you think of the caricature and how bothered you are by that centering there as well. Above it, 2 Messis and a Ronaldo here. We have Good as Gold from Gold Standard 2019. This is actually, I want to say sticker auto. It is a sticker auto, but it is a match-worn patch. If you go on the back, enclosed match-worn material. Would you look at that? From a set like Gold Standard. I mean, who would have thought? But gets a decent price there. It's numbered out of 5, so if you like that, 3,100 could be a deal, but it doesn't seem terrible to me. 2024 Kaboom Messi goes for 3,100 as well. I think the Ronaldo went for about that. It went for nearly the same price as the Pulisic, which was like 3 to 4K. So yeah, around there, Messi, Ronaldo, Pulisic, again, all about the same. 22 Obsidian Cristiano Ronaldo out of 5 goes for 3,700 there. That is not match worn. I did take a peek just for due diligence. We have a 2024 Kaboom, so I guess this is graded. This is not. Yeah, that's sort of the difference there. This gets $100 more, or $1,000 more. Sorry, it's Kaboom numbers. They're thousands of dollars. Whenever you move a little bit, I forgot. PSA 9 goes for 4K there. Top 15% eye appeal. So that Kaboom's got eye appeal. Some of the other ones you don't know, but this one, poof, showstopper. Impeccable 2019 Elegance out of 35, Cristiano Ronaldo. This looks sticker too. I know people like Impeccable. It's generally not match worn, maybe, but it's generally on card. This one is not. This is sticker and match worn. So there you go. You at least got that. You got the match worn napkin. 4,200 there feels pretty good. People like Impeccable though, so that's kind of a different. I think Impeccable is the closest I've seen to like a lower end competitor with Eminence and NT and that type of stuff. Because when you have like sticker autos like this, it doesn't really happen. I mean, it doesn't happen in Eminence, Flawless, Topps Dynasty. It happens in National Treasures a little bit. So, but anyhow, 2023 Lionel Messi PSA 9 for 4,500. So it gets a little bit of a premium here over the Ronaldo year earlier. Ultimately seem relatively similar to me. Ronaldinho patch here goes for 4,680. My lord, my lord. Ronaldinho's got some collectors. If you didn't know, this is certainly putting that on display. 4,700 here for this post-playing days patch auto, but man. Leaf next to it, a nice looking Leaf card. Who'd have thunk it, right? I'm guessing it's
sticker auto because I don't think I've ever seen a Leaf on card, but maybe I'm lying. I don't know. Anyways, this is game worn. I don't think it says the game on there. It's got a UEFA Foundation patch that goes for 6,600. I think it's the highest selling Leaf card I've ever seen, at least modern day soccer Leaf. 2018 Eminence Lionel Messi. This goes for 6,900. Of course, a lot of Messis that look like this have had speculation around them. I've certainly, speculated myself, and I don't like it. It's not my kind of thing, but, I can understand the release format and eminence and being high end like this. People are going to like it. So 6,900 there. And then the top three, we have a Lionel Messi out of 5, 17 grand for that. Not post-playing days, but not playing on Barca anymore. Certainly didn't look like that. That gets a pretty decent number, I would say. 17 grand's not bad. And then a 1/1 R9 goes for 18 grand. Interestingly enough, not a great patch on that 1/1 R9. Last year they had some stunner patches on the 1/1s. This year that's pretty lackluster, if I had to say so. But nearly the same price as the Messi. Take your pick between those two. I'd have to take Messi just because, it's Messi and it's playing days, but, people love R9 and hey, I get it. But, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But, Ronaldinho would probably do that as well. If it's out of 5s doing, nearly 5 grand, Ronaldinho would be right up there. You'd have to think in a 1/1 format. But ultimately, who's the best player of the moment? Who do we care about? All these great players, all these guys, they've done so much, but man, this guy, this is the guy. Lamine Yamal. I could go into a long diatribe about this as well, and I'm just going to spare people the pain. Basically, marks of excellence. You know this, right? You've seen this before. This is an out of 5. It's rookie, right? Because the marks of excellence were rookies. Granted, they were released late. The marks of excellence were already released late, right? Like the initial ones. This is a post-release of these that are masquerading as rookies. So on the back, it says 2024 Topps Dynasty. It's in the same set as Messi and Ronaldo, these cards here. From my understanding, it's sort of like a rookie that was brought into the set to print a few more, essentially. But whatever. We'll go to the sales. Fine, whatever. So I looked at dates sold, right? When did the first Marks of Excellence sell? 2024, August 19th. So, Lamine Yamal is a rookie, and his rookie cards were released 2023-2024. So the season starts, September of 2023, whatever, goes till May 2024. So May 2024 is where his rookie season ends, and theoretically his cards should stop. But they go through the summer because, he's Lamine Yamal and they're behind. So 2024 summer into fall, they're printing rookies from the year before. So already a little, it's not quite rookie year. They're leaning a little. They released this new batch this December, last December. They released this new batch of them in 2025, December 2025. So his rookie year ends. Summer goes by, they start releasing the post rookies, but kind of rookies. That whole season goes by, and now we're halfway into the next season, and they are still printing rookies, and they're still getting crazy amounts. All-time high price. This basically sells for the same price as his initial ones were selling for back in the day. This says 2023-2024 Topps Inception. I would assume the cards now will say, let's see, is there anything on the back? Do these say 2023 on the back, or do they just say 2024? Because on the back of these, it says 2024. On the back of these, it says 2024. So technically, they're supposed to be the same season, but one of them was released a year and a half later. And that's my understanding of it. So I don't understand, that's my understanding of it, but ultimately to say I don't understand. I don't get it at all. I don't know how they keep getting away with this, it's just so crazy to me. But in terms of all-time high sales, there was one higher for a 910 that sold in January of this year as well for $76,000. So basically, seems like all of that comp and maybe more for a raw version at 66 feels pretty good. And that tops both the auction blocks for this week. So fun times to be had. Looking at next week. Just one auction next week. Not two, just one. Nice. All right. So next week, We have 2 Kabooms to start, so people like Kaboom, 16K on the Messi, 10K on the Ronaldo right now. BGS 9 of the 71 bis. We have a PSA 10 Messi rookie, a PSA 9 blue chrome, a PSA 10 Mbappe Kaboom, a green early. That's a pretty big week. PSA 10 Mega Cracks, PSA 10 2014 Prism, Black Pandora 1 of 1 Holland. My lord, red Cristiano Ronaldo, gold auto, jersey number 30. I do wonder what people think on that. Is his jersey number 30? I mean, it's technically 30, but like, would you rather have 10 than 30? I'm interested. But beyond that, I mean, yeah, even beyond that, I mean, a couple supers down here, gold rookies. It's a pretty big week. It's a pretty big week. So I'm excited. Hopefully you are as well. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, do make sure to leave a like. I'd appreciate it greatly. Helps me, helps the channel. Anything you bought, sold, maybe thought sold high or low, would love to hear your thoughts down below in a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this as soon as they go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace.